Hey guys, hope you're well today. Breaking news from World Rugby. World Rugby has just announced and approved an amendment for national team representation that will allow an international player to transfer from one union to another. And obviously this is in subject to demonstrating, you could say, a close or reliable, you could say, link to that union via birthright, to say the least. But man, this is just, whew. This is crazy, by the way. This is crazy, but in a good way, in a very good way, to say the least. But, of course, there are a few rules and stipulations that come under it, obviously, to be eligible for this. The first one is that the player must stand down from international rugby for 36 months. So, obviously, that's 3 years. That's a huge deal in the sense, if they obviously want to switch an alliance, obviously, towards another union. But I definitely know a few players who I'm going to list, straight away after this, you would definitely want to do that for sure. But obviously the second rule, and there's only two rules really. The second rule is that the player must be either born in the country to the country obviously they want to transfer to, or have a parent or grandparent that was born in the country. So I mean, that's really only the two rules that actually come into it. But the big one really is the 36 months that obviously kind of delays it to like when you want to switch. But there are some players who I'm going to go through very shortly who actually qualify for this and actually can represent their nation in the 2023 Rugby World Cup, which is massive to say the least. But of course, I mean, this includes for every team within World Rugby, by the way. But I am going to take a specific focus within the Pacific Island nations, as there's a lot of players within World Rugby at the moment who can actually represent these nations now because of this rule, which is massive to say the least. But here we go. We'll first start off with Tonga, because I believe Tonga have probably the most players who can now be eligible to play for Tonga because of this rule. So we'll start with Tonga right here. Here's the players, right, guys. I mean, it's massive. This is just massive. But of course, you can see with the forwards, you do have the likes of Mako Velapola, as well as Jason Tomolo, as well as Benny Velapola. And man, that's a heck of a three decent forwards obviously go into Tonga's side, but it's decent. Obviously, the ages obviously is 30, 28, and 29, and obviously it's a prop, lock, and loose forward. So it covers different positions as well. So that's actually a benefit in that sense, obviously for Tonga. But I mean, all three of those players are great. Obviously, the Velapola brothers obviously playing for England. I mean, you could say Mako is probably there's a difference between Mako and Billy, because I think Billy obviously is younger, and I think would suit probably the Tongan team better. But I believe Mako even made a statement within the past, even that he I don't know, he's more unlikely to kind of go through it, just because he felt that, he doesn't want to kind of hinder the, kind of like the younger generation who's obviously coming into that role, into that proposition. But we'll see what happens there, of course. But I mean, Tomolo, obviously a great player, obviously within Rugby League, and obviously can make a difference, obviously within that Tongan side. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Of course, for the backs, we do have the likes of Charles Piutau. Obviously, what is he? I think he's still the number one player. He's the most paid player in the world. I believe he gets the most money or salary, you could say, within World Rugby, which is ridiculous. And he hasn't played a World Cup, guys. So, yeah, it's just crazy to think that he hasn't played one. And now this rule obviously allows him to. So, yeah, he's obviously within the backs. You obviously can be eligible for this rule now to obviously represent Tonga. We do have the likes of Liam Mape as well, who obviously is now gone from New Zealand to France to play, I believe, for Stade France. And with that, he said in the past that he would be very open to, obviously going to Tonga. So this is a big thing for him. Obviously, Fakatoa as well. I mean, he actually joined the Tongan, I believe, sevens team. So he was actually in the process of going through the previous rule that was actually gone before. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because maybe because he's done that already, he gets, I don't know, maybe like an earlier time to kind of join the team even faster than normal. We'll have to wait and see. But of course, the big one here is Israel Folau, to say the least. I mean, Israel Folau, there's a lot of, I can't really stand for what he obviously did, and obviously we're not going to go too much into that, but because of what happened obviously within the situation, he hasn't played, I believe, rugby for around 2 years now. So it's kind of funny enough where he actually is in the perfect position to actually represent Tonga for the 2023 Rugby World Cup, and yeah, there's a possibility that could happen. So I guess for his situation, that's obviously beneficial towards him. And to be honest, I actually liked him as a player. He was a great player to watch, obviously, for the Waratahs and for Australia. So from a rugby point of view, I'm very excited to see him come back. So yeah, that's going to be great to see what happens there. Of course, we'll now move on towards Samoa. So Samoa, of course, right here, the players who obviously can represent them now because of this rule. We do have the likes of Artis Avia within the forward pack. He obviously is still part of New Zealand at the moment, but he has stated in recent interviews within this year, actually, that he wouldn't actually mind representing Samoa, obviously, later down the line. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, obviously, New Zealand is stacked with a ton of players, so he might actually decide to, maybe switch his alliances. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe after the 2023 Rugby World Cup, maybe that's what happens with him. Maybe he plays for New Zealand for that one, but then the next one after that, I believe, which, in my opinion, I think will be hosted in Australia. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe he represents Tonga there. But, of course, we do the likes of Stephen Luatua, who, I mean, sensational player, obviously ex-Blues player as well, and obviously with Bristol Bears now. Obviously, this gives him an opportunity now to represent Samoa. I mean, he's stated clearly like he would love to play international rugby, so this is obviously a great opportunity for him to play for Samoa. I mean, for the backs, we do the likes of Lima Sobolonga. I mean, he's a great player, obviously ex-Highlander, and obviously now playing with England, I believe with the Wasps. So, yeah, he's a great player, and yeah, obviously he would suit the Samoan team like perfectly, obviously, within that fly-up position. Of course, we do have the likes of Danny Solomona, obviously based in England as well, obviously represented them for a bit. But obviously this rule now kind of allows them to obviously represent Samoa. So, yeah, that's a huge benefit, I'd say, towards Samoa as well. So, yeah, I mean, if they had all four of those players join, that would be ridiculous. But anyway, we'll move on towards the last one that I can think of at the moment. Obviously, we'll go with Fiji right here, and yes, there's only 2 players here, but I just wanted to mention Fiji because I felt like I should include all the Pacific Island nations. Of course, we do have the likes of Nathan Hodges, obviously, who is 30 years old. He is a loose forward, and obviously he is playing within, I believe, for Bristol, if I'm not mistaken, the number 8. He has stated within the past that he wouldn't really want to change his alliance, but you never know because of this rule now, being kind of in place now. He might actually switch his mind, so we'll have to wait and see there. And of course, we do have the likes of Nai Yaravalo, who obviously played within Super Rugby, I believe, for the Waratahs, but obviously is now within England. This was a great opportunity for him, obviously, to represent Fiji. And yeah, I mean, Fiji are, in my opinion, I'd say throughout the last 10 years, Fiji have been probably the better side between Samoa and Tonga. But now, if this actually rule happens, maybe Tonga and Samoa actually come up a level. We'll have to wait and see. But of course, Fiji, he's a great player. Obviously, Nai no, I always pronounce his name wrong. But yeah, he's a great player to say the least. He's just a battering ram, and yeah, he would bring a lot obviously towards that Fijian side. But of course, guys, that is kind of it. Obviously, with the Pacific Island nations, but I mean, there's countless others, to be honest, that you could obviously go for. I mean, within the Six Nations teams, I mean, you could have a player from Scotland obviously transfer to England. Vice versa. You could have a player from Italy. I don't know, a player from France going to Italy. I mean, this is just ridiculous to say the least. But to be perfectly honest, I love this rule. I think it kind of balances kind of the teams out, and I think it brings the competitiveness, I think, at a higher level within World Rugby, and from an international standpoint within Rugby World Cups, it's gonna be way more kind of competitive because of this rule. So I'm fully for it, to be perfectly honest, and yeah, just excited to see what happens. But guys, let me know in the comments for sure. Let me know just in the comments what you guys think about this rule. Do you guys agree with this rule or disagree? Let me know in the comments. I mean, I'm very excited about this rule, so I'm definitely in agree in this situation. But, guys, do let me know. I want to give you guys just this early content because, obviously, this is breaking news, guys. So this is just massive in this sense. But, yeah, guys, let me know in the comments, guys. Like this video, guys, if you haven't already. And, guys, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. But, yeah, guys, I'll see you guys next time.